foi feita uma entrevista com os devs do Dark and Darker e foi dito sobre o conteúdo novo que tá para vir. Os próximos 2 dias, 3, eu acredito que até sexta-feira tem conteúdo no Dark and Dark. Eu não vi nenhum BR falando sobre isso, sei que tem pouco jogador, mas eu vou traduzir rapidinho mais ou menos o que é.
The podcast that I did last night with these guys, full dev Q&A is up on YouTube for you if you guys want to go and check that out. But this is, it's suffice to say, a summary of that hour and 15 minutes or so that we were talking. So first things first, we are looking at the end of January for the patch. There will not be a druid in this patch, but we do have some interesting pieces. The first is...
Como eu falei, o patch vai ser logo. Infelizmente o druida não vai sair dessa vez. Vai ficar para uma próxima.
Is the Ice Map Part 1. This is going to be the first of the Frost Mountain biome maps and will be the second map of the 3. They're working with this 3
Primeira coisa importante que vai ser lançada nesse patch é o mapa de gelo. Se eu não me engano, ele não falou, mas vai ser chamado de Frost Mountain, montanha congelada.
Map system, level 1, level 2, level 3, like we have right now with the ruins to crypts to inferno progression. This map is going to be called the Ice Cavern. It is going to be the level 2, so the crypts equivalent of this ice biome will be this map, and I'm going to show you screen caps as we're going along here. Now the boss of this map is supposed to be a Frost Wyvern. We were talking about how there's going to be a dragon. We now know that the name of it is going to be the Frost Wyvern, and this map does not currently have the boss on it.
O nome do boss que vai vir no mapa é Frost Wyvern, mas ele não vai lançar agora. Pelo que eu entendi, é um dragão, mas infelizmente não vai vir com o mapa também. Não vai ser para agora.
Mainly because the monster team, the team that creates the monsters and models and whatnot, that creation team, which is now 2 people instead of just 1 guy, they've now doubled their workforce, therefore double the labor.
Antigamente, como quando começou o projeto Dark and Dark, era um cara só trabalhando. Agora são 2. Caralho, dobro de projeto.
Heck yeah, dude. Well done. We have now 2 guys that are working on this, and the reason why it hasn't been done up until this point is there's been 1 person that's kind of been creating the monsters for this map and doing all the pathing and whatnot. The boss is planned to be in the Icy Abyss, which is the Inferno level of the Frost Mountain.
Então, o que vai acontecer? Vai ter um inferno do mapa de gelo. Infernal Abyss. Um abismo do inferno, sei lá como é que se traduz.
So Icy Abyss will be the Inferno level equivalent of the Frost Mountain. There will be a Frost Wyvern to fight at that. Now there is no circle being tested for this right now in the Ice Cavern, but there are going to be some new and interesting extraction mechanics that SDF didn't actually want to talk about and we weren't supposed to know about, but there's going to be some new extraction mechanics. Just pretend that you didn't hear that.
A mecânica de extração do jogo vai mudar, diferente. Não vai ter mais o círculo, a Dark Swarm, que nem aqui. Só que ainda vai ser tempo limite. Não vai ter mais o círculo, mas vai ter tempo limite para você extrair. E a extração provavelmente vai ser diferente. Não vai, talvez não seja mais portal, ou talvez você precise de alguma coisa para interagir com o portal. Vamos ver.
Game modes for the Ice Cavern with separate matchmaking. We don't have a concrete answer on whether this is going to be solo, duo, trio, or all of them. They don't believe that they're going to put this on this map rotation thing because the idea is to test the map, so they don't want to put it on the rotation just for the sake of being able to test it and then perhaps add it to a rotation later on down the line.
Então, ele não sabe se vai ter solo, duo e trio. Parece que vai ser um mapa separado para teste. Não vai, talvez seja um mapa livre, solo, duo e trio, não vai fazer parte da rotação. Então, porque primeiro vamos fazer todos os testes necessários.
Once the map has kind of been fleshed out. Now we did, again, I'm going through the screen caps here. The timer was interesting on the screen caps where there was kind of like this blue gradient to it. And the reason for this is because while there is no BR functionality, the map is still timed. So you do have to find an extract before like this cold snap comes in and kind of kills everything on the map with a big deep freeze. They're calling it like a blizzard, basically, that comes through and sweeps.
Do tempo limite, provavelmente vai ser algum debuff conforme o tempo vai passando. Então, não faço ideia, talvez congele, talvez deixe slow, sei lá.
Through and then you die of cold exposure. So lastly in these screen caps you'll notice that there is a new Frost Giant model somewhere.
Esse aqui é um mob novo, Frost Giant. Parece ser mini boss, eu diria.
It's this larger Frost Giant kind of sauntering along with this big 2-handed hammer, which looks really interesting and cool, and I'm looking forward to fighting him. I want to see what their movesets are like. Pretty sweet. As a reminder, the Ice Cavern is not in its final stage. Much like the very early days of Ruins, there's going to be a lot of iterating on this map. They're going to add things, they're going to change things as the map flows, and again...
Um mapa de gelo não está nem perto do final, assim, de ser produzido, então é quase um alpha do mapa de gelo. Então, uma aparência talvez mude bastante, que nem as ruínas quando lançou.
This is one of those things where the devs are very much relying and enjoy a lot of user feedback from people like us as, again, alpha testers, because this is an alpha early access playtest of this game, and they want that feedback. So as we're playing through it, please share your thoughts with the devs, send them DMs on Discord. The devs are very, very responsive to those pieces of feedback. SDF is a big proponent of and a big believer of reading all of those messages that you send them, so please do that so that they can look through that stuff and you know, hopefully apply those ideas that you guys have to the game. For me, the conversation's shifted into the marketplace. So again, this is the first iteration is version 0.1, function first over form. Okay. The idea here is to make a functional flea market style marketplace where you guys put up listings for like a buy it now.
Então, agora vai ter um mercado, você não precisa mais ficar no trading botando seus itens para vender e ficar lá esperando alguém comprar. Agora você vai fazer uma lista do que você quer vender e vai dormir. No outro dia, talvez vai ter vendido, talvez não. Vai ter um limite de preço ainda, ele não falou ainda, mas já tô adiantando. Vai ter um limite de preço, eu não sei dizer qual, pelo jeito aqui talvez é 250, o máximo que tem aqui é 200, 1.200 no caso. Caralho! Luva nova, Liquid, eu acho que tinha uma bota nova aqui também. Provavelmente Dark Leaf Boots. Vamos ver.
Price. That price does have a limitation for now, though, because the maximum amount of transactions, all the transactions that you do are
Tem
in gold,
limite,
and there is a maximum amount that can be
10
traded. So because of that, you have to be mindful of how much you're putting items up for in terms of gold. And it also means that the text-based marketplace is still going to be something that we use. The example that I gave was yesterday, Katie and Rushrog and myself got a soul scraper off of the Ghost King when we were running through early in the morning. That is worth approximately 10 keys, depending on who's buying it, sometimes more, sometimes less. That item would not be able to get sold.
Então, ele falou que pegou um item nomeado, daí não vai ter como vender nesse market, porque vai ter um limite de gold para vender. Talvez não é que nem o trading normal, que você vai colocar o gold, talvez provavelmente o gold vai sair automaticamente da tua conta, não sei, vamos ter que esperar para ver como é que vai funcionar. Mas vai ter limite de preço.
On the marketplace because of the gold limitation, which means we would still need to use the text-based marketplace in order to be able to trade items around. Same thing goes for if you were trying to trade items between friends or move items between characters on an account, something like that. Obviously, you still need that text-based, like person-to-person trading aspect in order to be able to make that work. The listing will have a fee, and there is a limitation of approximately 10 items, depending on how they tweak this. It could be more, it could be less, but I would assume that there's going to be about 10 items that you'll be able to list at any one time. Those items will have a time limit, and then those items would have to be retrieved by you, or the gold would have to be retrieved by you. And again, this is going to be limited in terms of how long.
Vai ter tempo nesse mercado. Se você não tirar o item de lá, o mercante vai vender para ti. E você não vai receber o dinheiro. E se você não pegar o gold, mesma coisa, vai sumir teu dinheiro.
They hold on to that inventory, especially if it's gold, because the idea is not to be using this as some secondary bank or storage system for your characters. You'll need to retrieve that before the time runs up, and then if you don't, you'll go to the void. There were a couple of like little teasers here. There's a couple of like druid armor items that were kind of shown in the UI, and then there was also a cloak that was gray, which I thought was kind of interesting. But none of that stuff I don't think is going to be in this iteration of the game, because again, we don't have the druid yet, but it's coming. From here we moved on to the warlock and the warlock changes. Now, we know from prior...
Agora sobre o warlock. O druida não vai vir, mas tem coisa interessante sobre o warlock, pros main aí.
Pods and things that have been said that they were working on a demon form for the warlock, and that is going to be in this patch. This is the first time that we've seen a true shape-shifting mechanic. We have had camp.
É uma transformação, o demon form, a forma do demônio. Você vai se transformar em um demônio e vai ter um set inteiro novo de skill. Inteiro não, né? 2 skills aqui. No caso, você vai usar o Warlock padrão, tem 2. Uma vai ser para se transformar. Quando você se transforma, você vai ter 2 novas.
Camera modification mechanics where you could cast Evil Eye and kind of control this skull bat as you flew around with the Warlock. You had the ability to do that, but it wasn't a true shapeshift where the Warlock was actually turning into something. And this is the first time that we're going to see that actual shapeshifting mechanic. This is also a proof of concept in a way, because it's the first time that we have a shapeshift. It allows them to understand the dev process to be able to add new shapeshifting mechanics.
Basicamente é a primeira vez que vai ter uma transformação dessa. Vai ajudar os devs a se preparar melhor pro druida.
Like the druid. So for this, the skill, and it's going to be a skill, not a spell, is going to be a demon form. The character changes its physical form. It's going to be a brand new system from the ground up that they built in order to be able to make this work. And then the player will have a new set of skills to use. There's going to be like a left click and a right click, or a skill 1, skill 2, that you then are able to use in each one of these forms. So this will be true for the demon form as well as all of the forms that you'll be able to shift into as the druid. And there are a bunch of them that we'll get to in a little bit. Now, there's an idea here, because of the ability to be able to control things in this manner, this feeds into other systems and other ideas that they have. For instance, they tease an idea of players being able to play mobs. So the enemy...
Eles meio que revelaram que vai ter como controlar mobs. Você não vai precisar ser um player, etc, entre aspas, um clérigo. Você pode ser, sei lá, uma múmia ou uma aranha múmia.
Enemies on the map might be able to at one point in time become player controlled, as if it was a scav run or the scav system that we're very familiar with in this game from Tarkov. Other minor stuff when reverting back right now is bugged when you shapeshift into warlock form, or when the warlock shapeshifts into demon form. There is a small bug right now that they may or may not be able to have fixed by the time that the patch goes live. When reverting back from this demon form, the player enters into like a T-pose and starts kind of floating around on the map, which is a little bit awkward. So hopefully that's something that they'll be able to fix, because not having any attack animations and stuff would be a little bit odd. This patch also comes with a full reveal of all of the rewards for the adventure system. They tease that the demigod rank will give everyone that achieves it a skin for the cloak for the back slot.
Sobre os rewards.
Or for your character, should you achieve it. They did not tease what the other tiers were, but again, this patch will be on the next couple of days, so hopefully we'll all have those answers very, very, very soon. Now, that is everything that is going on in this patch. Now, there could be some other little hidden things or some other minor changes, or maybe some new armor or something that they end up kind of peppering in there that they're able to kind of squeeze in the next couple of days. We'll just have to see what the full patch notes read like, but from here, all of the conversation then shifted into future-facing stuff, and there was a small bit of time that was spent on...
Daqui pra frente é coisas pro futuro, não é coisas desse patch, são coisas que vão vir um pouco mais pra frente.
on mechanics and balance changes. And from here, though, for those of you that are still here and you're listening or watching, most of this, the entire focus of this was not supposed to be on balance and mechanic changes. I want to make that very, very clear, and none of it had anything to do with any of the legal stuff, because again, they can't talk about the legal stuff because it's an ongoing litigious thing. So there wasn't any conversation about Steam either. Just like the rest of you, I am still waiting in rapt anticipation for them to release this game back on Steam. I'm very, very confident and hopeful that it will happen sooner rather than later. You know, I'm in the boat with you boys. But in terms of balance and mechanics, and whether or not the bard needs to be changed, or the barbarian, or the wizard needs a buff, or any of that other stuff, we didn't really get into any of that. I did ask a question, a couple questions about certain bugs and other exploits and whatnot, but those things were
de buffs e nerfs nos bonecos, sobre o bárbaro, sobre o wizard.
Very, very, very minimal. So if you had a question in mind in your head that you wish that I would have asked, trust me, I wanted to be able to ask all of them. It's just that at this point in time, it wasn't appropriate because we're talking about a content patch and not mechanics or balance changes or any of those other things, which I would like very gladly get into in a different conversation. Okay, so time and place. Anyway, onto the druid. So the druid, for forward-facing stuff, the spells around the druid, the focus of the druid is mostly going to be around shape-shifting. Again, this is always subject to change.
But sobre o druida, a maioria das spells dele vai ser de transformação.
Had a list of forms that SDF kind of had on a document that he just started scrolling through, and then Terry kind of started just rattling off different forms. They have played with one shape-shifted form for the druid. So the first shape-shifted form was a chicken, where they talked about
primeira transformação dele que eles testaram foi uma galinha, cara.
A couple of different mechanics where one was you'll be able to enter flight and fly for a short period of time. The second was a pecking mechanic where you had like a
pelo que ele falou, ela meio que dá pra voar por um curto período de tempo.
10% armor penetration, like peck attack on your left click, where you could peck at your opponent, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And they also said there would be an opportunity to be able to like use that to peck at the ground and possibly pull up like grubs or some other items out of the dirt, which I also found hilarious. This is obviously subject to change, but this chicken form sounded amazing. And I think in the VOD you just saw me like raise my arms up in the air and like laugh because of how outside of the box something like this is, because it's non-serious but could end up actually being a thing, which I thought was great. They talked about bear form, which is the most common form that we've heard of already, where there's going to be high HP and high defense as a shape-shifted form, but it's slow. Their left click would be like a cross swipe. They also had like a wild fury, but they didn't go into like what that would be. I assume it's some form of like bear rage mechanic. And also the size of the bear would be too big to fit through doorways. From here we also had other forms that got mentioned: a rat, a panther, a turtle, and a penguin, which I thought was great.
Então, teve as outras formas que foram meio faladas, que duas até meio esperadas, que era o rato e a pantera. Mas as outras duas é meio fora do comum, que é a tartaruga e um pigmin, cara.
And I ended up mentioning something about how common D&D tropes, because of the nature aspect and the nature damage having something to do with poison and disease, there's also very commonly like a spider form. So there's a possibility of turning into a spiffer mommy. SDF said that he was feverishly writing down a note when I mentioned spider form.
Alguém falou sobre a múmia durante sobre a aranha, a múmia, durante a entrevista, e os caras se interessaram.
We'll see a spider form. From here, we moved on to different bugs and different ideas that the community had. We kind of went to like a community Q&A session. There's a question about inspecting players and whether or not inspecting players in the lobby was being a little bit griefy, especially with like all the teaming issues when you saw people that had like halfway decent, really, really good gear.
Sobre a questão de inspectar os times durante o pré-lobby, aqui acho que no Brasil não tem muito problema, que são poucas pessoas que entram com bastante gear, mas no NA tem muito disso. Aconteceu até um drama aí essa semana aí, quem acompanha as coisas no NA, tinha uma galera, entrava com um rogue pelado na fila e via se tinha gente com um item, pra daí entrar no main e entrar naquela fila pra brigar com aqueles caras. Eu particularmente não julgo, porque o jogo não tá num pico e tem muita gente que quer brigar com gente forte. Não estão muito interessados se vão matar ou morrer. Faz até um pouco sentido, cansou do PvE, jogou o PvE, sei lá, faz quanto tempo que tá nessa season? Já faz uns 60 dias, 2 meses. É bastante tempo. Cansa um pouco o PvE. Não julgo muito, mas é uma mecânica estranha.
Said that the inspecting player aspect of this was intentional, and that it's supposed to be built this way, with the idea that some people are going to have less gear than others, some people are going to be more desirably pursued than others, and they want that to be kind of like this focal point where when you see somebody in the lobby that's got a lot of really good stuff on, you want to make that player feel as though there's an active interest in them and pursuing them.
Pelo que ele falou, é intencional isso, de inspectar, os devs fizeram intencional pra... Ou você vê aquele time lá no lobby, ou você corre, ou você sabe que você tem que se esconder, ou você sabe quem você quer matar.
And that player should feel a little bit of anxiety over wearing such good stuff if they're going to be like this big flashy build. Solo, duo, and trio rewards and how they will be rewarded was discussed. So solo, duo, and trio, you have a character that is playing all three of these. You're playing solos and duos and trios on the same character, the same class. You have them right along. You have multiple levels of different ranks. Maybe you have 2, like solo and duo on your cleric account, for instance, is both purple. Those rewards will be based on the point in which you finish your season. Not the highest point achieved during the season, but whatever your...
Você vai ganhar as recompensas com o rank que você terminou. Não é o mais alto que você chegou. Você chegou a demigod, mas caiu para exemplar, você vai ganhar as recompensas até exemplar.
Rank is at the end of the season, and the reward will be based on the highest rank achieved of the 3. So it will be, if you have purple rank in duo...
Se você tiver um personagem, por exemplo, esse cara tem esse clérigo, se ele jogou solo, duo e trio, e chegou no roxo, por exemplo, no trio e os outros 2 azuis, ele vai ganhar as recompensas pro boneco conforme o elo mais alto dos 3, que seria o roxo, Pathfinder.
Oh, and you're blue in solo and
Pathfinder
trio,
não.
you will receive the purple rank level reward. Whatever that rank is will be what you end up getting at the end of the season. And again, to reiterate, those season rewards will be revealed to us in this next patch. Some of those rewards obviously are going to be character-based. And some of those are going to be account-based. Things like skins, for instance, will be account-wide. If you have multiple characters that have achieved like a blue or purple level rank, those characters will receive their individual character-related rewards when the next season begins. Now, in the case of normal lobbies...
Então, todas as recompensas tem até o Pathfinder, até um rank verde, que tem as recompensas que são físicas, vamos dizer assim, que não é skin, que não é, enfim, vai ser pro personagem. Se você tem um clérigo, você chegou ao rank verde, você vai ganhar aquelas potes, aquele saco de ouro, e não lembro mais o que é, para aquele personagem. Agora as skins, que eu acho que é do Pathfinder pra frente, todos eles são cosméticos, vai ser pra conta no geral, você vai poder usar em qualquer boneco.
Versus high roller lobbies and the gearing associated with them, white gear and green gear and whatnot, and that step up between normal and green. The devs feel that the green gear fit is a little bit iffy, but overall it feels good between like the high roller player.
Sobre as filas normais e ranqueada não, né, da high roller.
Population and the normal level player population, they feel like it fits pretty well right now. They did mention that the Chaff Games platform is having an issue with launching.
Eles meio que disseram que as peças verdes, as roupas, etc., armas, não tá num lugar muito bom, porque você não pode entrar nas normal com ela, e na high roller basicamente você sempre acha azul ou roxo.
Game. It's been going on for weeks now. They are possibly working on a way to be able to migrate all the players that have been playing on Chaff Games over to the Blacksmith launcher so they don't have these issues anymore. But kind of stay tuned on that if you're a Chaff Games player. Cleanse.
É sobre que tem 2 launchers, tem o Blacksmith normal, que acho que a maioria usa, e tem um outro lá que eu não sei o nome. E a intenção deles agora, que acabou que um processo judicial que eles tinham, não sei se todo mundo sabia, eles ganharam. Não sei se ganharam ou se foi pelo menos interrompido, enfim, o processo foi terminado. Os launchers estão querendo migrar desse segundo launcher, menos comum, pro launcher da Iron Mace, o Blacksmith. Provavelmente isso tem a ver com o lançamento do jogo na Steam.
Being bugged is not actually bugged. The way that the cleanse is supposed to work is specifically for curses, like Warlock curses. It was retweaked specifically to deal with curses and curses only. The reason why it's not cleansing off any other debuffs, like things from the Lich, for instance, is completely intentional, and they are looking into readjusting or retweaking cleanse again for a future patch. We then talked about races and classes like the
cleanse não tá bugado. Ele foi feito para ser daquele jeito, para lidar com maldições.
Dwarf, they don't have anything looked at or set in stone as of yet. The Dwarf is kind of like a working idea, but they don't have a date or a set in stone thing that they're looking at doing for that as of now. Arena, the fighting arena that people have been talking about wanting is being worked on. Its design is being worked on, tweaked internally. They haven't been played in yet, but they are working on designing arenas or an arena to be able to fight in. Looking to start looking at arena after this patch comes out. The Barbarian, plans are to have the Barb be addressed. General balance patches will be coming after this patch. This again is a content patch, and the tweaks and balances and stuff that people have been asking about will be looked into for a hotfix coming in the next couple of weeks. And then the training system, the talent.
Vai ter esse patch que vai ser mais sobre o conteúdo, e vai ter provavelmente um patch um pouco mais à frente sobre o balanceamento, bárbaro, etc.
Trees, those tiers, they have a listing of generalized perks and seeing how they will affect everything around it and how multi-classing will end up affecting everything, because I have a feeling.
Eles meio que deram uma confirmada sobre a multiclass, você poder jogar com aquela aba de treinamento dentro do jogo. Eles estão desenvolvendo essa parte também, estão tentando balancear, porque provavelmente vai mudar todo o jogo, e você vai poder jogar. Talvez não seja uma verdade, mas enfim, você vai poder misturar 2 classes. Opa.
That they're looking at having this training system be implemented alongside or in tandem with some type of multi-class system to allow people to kind of build a lot more hybridized and customized builds. Now, in terms of quests, in the questing system, they are working on the next set of quests. There are going to be more, hopefully a lot more. Obviously, they want to include some amount of quests that have something to do with this frost biome and ice caverns and all of that other stuff. So there's going to be a whole new ream of quests that have something to do with that map. SDF apologizes for the size of this patch being smaller than some people would like. The size of the dev team in all the multitasking that they are going through, and obviously the background stuff and having to do more administrative work, and obviously the legal focus has been kind of detracting from their ability to make as much progress as they would have liked to have made. But they are working on it. They're trying very hard. They're pulling a lot of overnight runs to try and get us the stuff that we really want to be doing and make those deadlines on those promises that they have made. They're focusing right now on pushing out the new content, then polishing it, then fixing bugs and exploits and whatnot, and then
estão dando uma rushada no conteúdo novo para depois dar uma arrumada, uma polida,
then do a little bit more polish, and then go look at reworks and whatnot. And then we talked finally about the teaming issue. For those of you that haven't seen, on higher rank stuff, when you get to like purple, blue, maybe and above, especially on like West Coast US, SEA, and OCE servers, where we have a lot of that culture of teaming and like people Q-sniping each other and then trying to roll lobbies and like everybody plays nice until they don't. The teaming aspect is a problem.
Sobre o pessoal se juntando pra matar todo mundo no lobby.
Now, we talked about this, and they said that because of all of the different regions and the different game modes, solo, duo, trio, and all the different map options and whatnot, there are 144 matchmaking pools, which is an issue, because when you're trying to make this a balanced and good experience for everyone that you can, 144 different matchmaking pools becomes a bit of a daunting task. To fix teaming, it would increase the size, the number, the count of these matchmaking pools, because you would have to further and further segregate out all of these different groups of people in order to keep...
Então, eles têm que cuidar de 144 partidas ao mesmo tempo, basicamente. E se você quiser lidar com esse problema de teaming, você teria que meio que dobrar essa quantidade de partidas. Fica uma quantidade exagerada, uma coisa muito difícil de cuidar.
Keep them from teaming with each other based on like rank differences and whatnot. These would end up being a detriment to the current player base, but the team does have all of this data. They are actively monitoring it, and they're trying to do everything that they can to make this a much more organic experience. I will say that there was a talk about this regarding population as well. Obviously, the larger...
Eles também falaram sobre o tanto de players que tem. Por exemplo, agora a gente tá num estado meio caído. Sei lá, toda vez que eu entro tem 6 a 7 mil players ativos. Um pouco na dungeon, um pouco, sei lá, no trading, no lobby, enfim. Isso influencia, porque daí fica muito fácil das pessoas se acharem no mesmo lobby e quererem se juntar e matar todo mundo. Quer dizer, essa é a intenção. Acontece uma coisa que é uma questão muito... Como é que eu vou dizer? Uma causa da rotação de mapas, que por causa das ruínas, as ruínas é um mapa pequeno. É um mapa pequeno que você consegue se mover por ele muito rápido. Você simplesmente pode ignorar todos os blocos, todos os quadrados e ir para onde você quer. O que acontece nas ruínas? Muita gente não quer brigar. Eu sou uma pessoa que estou tentando chegar ao Demigod depois dessas revelações que tiveram dos cosméticos. E eu não quero brigar, cara. Só quero farmar um pontinho e sair vivo. E acontece muito, é muito normal, muito mesmo. Você vê os caras andando um do lado do outro. E eu não acho legal você ficar junto. Eu acho que você pode ir lá, dar um oi pro cara e aí, vamos ser amigos. E o cara concordar e cada um seguir seu caminho. Mas no final do jogo meio que impossível. Mas eu acho que por conta de como tá a meta, faz sentido. Você tem portal para todo mundo, tanto para descer quanto para ir embora. Não falta portal, tem as saídas extras. Você tem portal para todo mundo para descer também, tem os fixos, não tem como não descer todo mundo. Então, ficou uma meta amigável. Outro dia até fui julgado pelo Piraju, dizendo que eu tava fazendo o time porque eu não quis matar o cara. Simples assim. Eu não quero brigar. Na verdade, aquela situação, eu dei 5 é exagero. Dei 2 facada na cabeça do Ranger. Aí o cara começou a gritar: não, por favor, não me mata, em inglês, que tem muito americano jogando. E eu fiquei com dó, cara, não quis matar, não matei. Aí apareceu do nada um Warlock e já tava todo mundo lá festejando, tomando uma cervejinha, tomando uma ale, e é isso. Aí o Piraju, não sei se extraiu, morreu, disse: os caras estão fazendo timing aqui. Não, cara, acontece muito de ninguém querer se matar, por causa da questão da meta. Enfim, já pulei fora do assunto, nem tanto.
The number of players that there are for this game, the much more difficult it becomes over time to actually be able...
Os devs falaram sobre como resolver esse problema. É fácil. Tira os portais. Você tira os portais bota uma quantidade limitada de portais, não vai mais ter timing. Você vai ter que matar alguém para poder pegar o portal. Fácil, simples.
To do some of this teaming stuff with a larger, much more increased size and player population, it starts...
Só que, pensa comigo, o jeito que tá, tem muito jogador na High Roller. Antes dessas mudanças de portais, não tinha ninguém, cara. Todo mundo jogava normal.
Diluting the ability for people that are trying to pull this stuff to be able to pull this stuff off, because there will just be so many more people like simultaneously queuing at the same time. Obviously, we're never going to be able to curb this indefinitely. It's one of those things that is going to happen, but they are trying to reduce it or get as close to eliminating it as they possibly can. All right, guys, so that is everything for the duration of the podcast. Thanks so much for coming and checking this out.
Então, foi isso aí, cara. Todas essas são as novidades, um pouco do que tá pra vir agora Eu acredito que até sexta-feira, talvez hoje. E um pouco pro futuro próximo. Então é isso. Boa sorte nas dungeons. Ruxa o demigod, que vai ter recompensa legal. Uma skin pra capa, cara. Você vai poder ir lá e se mostrar pra todo mundo. Beijos e abraços.